now that we know that a vector is the direction and magnitude of a force, I'm going to build a simple truss bridge to help us understand a real-life example where we might see vectors in action. So the vector that we're going to focus on from bridges today is called the reaction force of the bridge. So the reaction force is the force applied to the bridge itself from the pins that hold it in place. The pins are the red squares you can see on the right and left of the river attached to the land. This is what holds the bridge in place. The reaction force we'll be able to see is applied more to the top middle of the bridge, and you'll see that when the beams that go from the pins to the top of the bridge change colour, meaning that they're under a certain amount of force. The amount of force will be displayed in the bottom middle of the screen as a percentage. So then we have a value for the magnitude of the force in the bottom middle of the screen, and we have the direction of the force, which is in the beams angled toward the top middle of the bridge. So when I run this example with the van crossing over, you'll be able to see where I point. So we've got the van there, and then we've got the beams that change colour because of the force right here and on the other side as well. So now we know a real-life example of vectors, which is the reaction force in a bridge.
Let the games begin!
Assalamualaikum and hi viewers. Today our presentation is talk about vector in video games. Firstly, let me introduce our members. First, Muhammad Danish Shabil bin SH Shahrul Azwari 01DEE22F1035, it's me. Second, Ainuddin bin Khairuddin 01DEE22F1033. Third, Muhammad Zul Hazmi bin Zulkifli 01DEE22F1060. And last, Ulul Azmi bin Zayadi 01DEE22F1053. And now let's talk about introduction vector. What is vector? Vector is, in essence, a vector is a mathematical unit that can consist of more than one value. It's important to distinguish between vectors in traditional mathematics and in-game engines. In this tutorial, I will be discussing the practical parts for game development only. Vectors have a length or magnitude. You can find out how to calculate that here. That can be used to quantify the vector's total size. In game development, vectors have 2 or 3 dimensions depending on whether you are making a 2D or 3D game, and are generally used to represent geometrical properties of objects within the game world: rotation, position, etc.
Hello, my name is Ainuddin bin Khairuddin. I'm from DE 1B. My matrix number is 01DE22F1033. Today, I'm going to talk about my part on a presentation about vector in video games. So, my first point is vector for directions. What is vector for direction? Vector for direction is knowing the direction of object can allow us to manipulate them in interesting ways. Vectors can also be used to indicate direction. A directional vector has one important property in game engine that distinguish it from vectors used to represent other properties. So, my second point is vector for positioning. In game development, the most common use of a vector is for positioning. Operations like multiplication or division can only be performed on vectors using scalars, single values that we apply to all dimensions of the vector. So, my third point is the dot product. What is the dot product? The dot product is the vertical line surrounding the vectors underneath the division represent the magnitude of a vector. Since we know that normalized vector magnitudes are always equal to 1, we can simply get the angle by isolating for it because the division will always be by 1.
My name is Muhammad Zulazmi Zulkifli. Finding the distance between two vectors. To find the distance between two vectors, we must use the distance formula. D equals to square root in bracket x2 minus x1 close bracket power of 2 plus in bracket y2 minus y1 close bracket power of 2. So, knowing the distance between objects can let us know if our players are out of range and can or can't attack someone. Application of vector in video game. In video game, we use vector to represent the velocity of players, but also to control where they are aiming or what they can see. Let's say we have an enemy AI that needs to shoot all the bugs he encounters. Imagine the AI has a velocity and direction vector of 1, 0, and he's standing at the origin of the map, so 0, 0. Define a box at position 2, 3, so we want to rotate him so he can point at the box and shoot it. But we need to calculate the angle between where he aiming and where he wants to actually aim to hit the box. To calculate the vector that points toward the box, we simply subtract the box position minus the player's position. So 2, 3 minus 0, 0 equals to 2, 3 in our very simple example.
Assalamualaikum Inha. My name is Nurul Azmi Mizayandi. My matrix number is 01DEE22M1053. Today I will be talking about example of vectors in video game. Let's say we have a scene with two players A and B. We want to find the distance between both of them. Player A is at position 2-1 while player B is at position 1-4. To calculate the distance between them, we first need to subtract the position of player A from the position of player B. First, we subtract the x component, 1 minus 2 equals negative 1. Then, we subtract the y component, 4 minus 1 equals 3. The result is the coordinates of minus 1, 3. To calculate the length is relatively easy. To obtain that, we just need to apply the formula square root x squared minus y squared to the calculation. Note that the length is referred as magnitude. To explain it more clearly, the vector can be known as the hypotenuse of the triangle created by the vector coordinate. We can then use the Pythagoras theorem to calculate that side. We just need to insert the value into the formula and then we will get the answer, which is 3.16 units. This is our conclusion for the presentation. Mathematics is the fundamental tool for the development of video games. In addition to vector, many other areas of mathematics have an incredible role. In the most interesting games, the characters are immersed in a scene that tries to simulate the real world. To make the behavior of characters seem realistic, it is necessary to stimulate the law of physics and solve complex mathematical questions. The computing of the trajectory of an aircraft, the driving of a car, descent along a snow track, the jump of an obstacle will not be possible without the aid of mathematical tools.